While Katie had some housekeeping, I have a little bit of housekeeping as well that's related directly with the class. First things first, as a prime example that literally just happened, I have two dogs. One is a black lab, one is a Jack Russell Terrier mix. They like to bark. And so I always try to just like let everyone know, just a heads up, if you hear a bark, it's them. They typically aren't too noisy during my classes, but sometimes they will kind of start to be a little noisy. I just like to let everybody know so like no one gets like startled when they hear a random bark. And sometimes if they are acting really silly, I have to go take them outside just to get them outside.
I
So
just want to comment that there was that one time that your doorbell rang and everybody in the class was like, oh my gosh, because Gillian was gone way too long. And I was like, do I need to call the Pell City police and be like, somebody go do a welfare check?
it was
She
a
came
fun
back.
experience. It was a very fun experience.
What did a Girl
And
Scout?
I'm trying to remember who it was, but it was like the most randomest thing because I don't get a lot of my doorbell ringing. I'm one of those people that's just like there's just not a lot of people coming to my house. So when the doorbell rang, I think I even had like a really weird facial expression. Like I was like, let me go do this. So I that did not help the situation for sure. I'm bet. But yeah. I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been a Girl Scout or someone trying to sell something. Because I remember I was like, what is this? And my dogs just went absolutely wild because they're not used to the doorbell ringing. So they're like, oh my gosh, what's going on? It took me forever to get them quiet. So yeah, they do that. I love them to death, but they are very noisy animals. But it will be fine. If they get to be too much, like I said, I will always take them outside or I'll put them in my room and area because I usually will get them calm. Sometimes if they hear people talking, they're like, who else is in the house? And that typically gets them riled up too. But anyways, so there's that. I do like to warn not warn. That is a terrible word to put. The sign for warn and like a heads up is the same thing. And so my brain will sometimes do the ASL or the ASL wording that's not always the like most friendliest terms, if that makes sense. So sometimes if my English doesn't make a lot of sense, that's why. Um, but what I was going to say is like a heads up. This class is kind of very content heavy. So a lot of times what'll happen is that I think it's good to give you guys as many signs as possible. And since we record the videos, well, typically you'll have that whole list in that saved video. So if there's like you're sitting there going, oh my gosh, okay, I'm not catching all the signs. There's a video later where you can practice yourself. Since we only have 8 classes and 8 times to be together, I typically try to kind of give you guys as many. So it's almost like a nice extra resource of, oh, well, here's more. I can practice these signs later myself, if that makes sense. So because like I said, 8 classes, not enough time to give you many signs unless I just kind of do a lot of throwing. With that being said, though, if there's a point where you're like, oh my gosh, okay, this is a lot, I typically try to base it off of everyone's facial expressions and how well everyone's catching the signs. Some classes will be like, boom, boom, boom. Okay, let's keep going. Some will be like, now hold on, wait a minute and give me a minute. So if there is a point where you're just like, wait, can you repeat that? Please send it in the chat. Like I'm more than welcome to repeat myself if need be. Especially if it's hard to see or understand. I know sometimes through Zoom it can be kind of awkward with certain signs, so I will try to move my hand in sometimes the most weirdest way possible to give you guys the visuals. Like I think I've had to do like almost like aerial view a few times of my hand to catch that. So that will also, I would try to do my best as possible to help you guys see it as clearly as possible. But if you do need me to repeat, just let me know. Um, we will start today with our ABCs. Today is going to be kind of an easy one since it is the first class. And then next Tuesday, we will start with numbers and time because those are kind of connected together. And then, yeah, for that right now, those two. Usually, once we get to our third or fourth, it depends on how fast we've gone through it. Yes. So with our name, with the ABCs, I also will do my name is, which why did I do? We'll get into that when we get there. Sometimes I will sign as I talk if you couldn't tell. And it's not always right, like the signing, because you can't sign and talk at the same time properly. One language is going to go down while the other one goes up, which is another fun little thing we'll get into later. I know I'm rambling. I do that when I'm not used to having a huge class right now. I'm like, wow, there's so many people. But a lot of things I'll also do is if you guys have questions about deaf culture in itself, or anything related to deafness, please ask me. I'm more than happy to answer. Or if, like Miss Katie said, if I don't know it, I know a lot of people who can give me those kinds of answers or things like that. I'm more than happy to ask. I always like to say this is a safe space. So like some people, you know, we like, well, I want to ask this because but I'm scared it might be offended, like be offensive. Ask it, because I can tell you, oh yeah, that's definitely going to offend them. If you say this, they're going to be upset. Or I can tell you, no, actually, that's not, because it's a different culture. Like ASL is tied so well with deaf culture. It's easy to kind of be like, I don't know if this will be rude or not. And you'll kind of learn that as we go. I'll kind of explain deaf culture with it. And so yeah, just those kinds of little things. So please, if you guys have questions, let me know. All right, now I'm gonna try to get myself pinned so that way y'all can see me better. All right, and then I'm gonna, ooh. Okay, so am I big on everybody screaming? Okay, good. No? Am I not for some? Okay, let's see. So I pinned myself. Let's see, try to figure it out. Because usually the way I do it is if I pin myself, then it make me big on y'all's, but then I go back to my smaller screen because I can't see everybody. Let me try that once more and then we'll get started. Okay. How's that? Am I slightly bigger or anything? If not, then you might have to go on and click what's it called? There's view, and instead of do the view. If that might. Yeah. There you go. Perfect. Thank you. I only know so much about Zoom. So, okay. So let's get started. Our first one, obviously, we're going to do the letter A. So the sign for letter A is going to be this. It's going to be your forefingers down with your thumb on the side. And whenever you are signing, you typically want to have it facing like your palm is facing outward this way. Because think about it, if you're signing this to the person in front of you, like you're talking to someone. So we have A. B is going to be four fingers up with the thumb across. Works out really well that I painted my nails so you guys can actually see like where my fingers are standing. Some classes, it'll be like trying to figure it out because I don't have color on. And they're like, where is your thumb? Is it your nail this way, that way? So it's always helpful when I have color on my nails. All right. No, it does not matter. I'm left-handed, yes. So with being left, oh, sorry. I love when I answer and I don't even tell anybody what the question is. Someone asked if it matters being left-handed or right-handed. Most of the time it does not, because it's going to be the same sort of thing with the hands. If there does come a sign where you would do it differently, being left-handed or right-handed, I typically will let you guys know, because as a left-handed person, I had to learn the few ones that were going to be different for me. So, but most of the time they should be the same. So we had our B, and then C is going to be what you guys would think it is. C. Then for D, what you're going to do is you're going to have your pointer finger up, and your other fingers are going to make this like circular shape. I always visually, I mean, this one's a B shape, but I look at it as like you're making that shape of what a D would look like. You know, I think for right-handed people, it does make a D. Us lefties, whoever else is a lefty, it makes a B, but you know, the concept is there. So our D. And then E. So E is going to be your four fingers are kind of bent and they're not touching. They're not fully on your thumb, but like right above it. I'm gonna bring my hand close. See, so it's kind of right above, there's still a little space. You don't really want to have them fully back like this, where it's all the way back. That is what's called a screaming E. And some people can be very sassy with this. And because I learned it this way, I signed this way in the beginning. And I got in trouble for it because I kept doing this. And they're like, why are you screaming E's at me? And I was like, I am so sorry. So there's a little E. Okay. Now let's go back through our A through E. So we have A, Mm-hmm. Then B. Then C. D. Mm-hmm. Pointer finger. There you go. Yes. Then E. E. I will also say I like to add random tidbit stories to signs that I have. Typically, I think they help people remember them better because sometimes they're kind of like, oh, that's really silly or things like that. Because that helped me remember it when I was learning it, when I was learning ASL. So I typically add those in. If they don't help you, just ignore them, smile, and nod, like, okay, very funny, haha. But hopefully, if they do help, great. Okay, so the next one's going to be the letter F. Now, the letter F is going to be your pointer finger and your thumb touch and your other finger stick up. Yeah, F. Mm-hmm. Then we have G. G is going to be, so it's going to be like you're almost doing like the little mini, like, oh, this big with that one pointer, one finger. And now you're going to bring it forward. So G. Mm-hmm. Then we have H. H is going to be very similar. It's now two fingers. H. Mm-hmm. Okay. Then we have I. I is going to be our pinky up. And then J. So J is going to make the J shape. Fun fact with the J shape is when I was learning it, because I learned ASL my junior and senior year of high school, which was about 10 years ago. So yes, I think so. Sorry, I was lost whenever I started to think about time, and then I kind of do that whole like focus on it. But anyways, when I learned it, it was very important. There was a big difference between the way you did your J's. Like the right-handed people would have to do it outward, the left-handed had to do inward. It was this whole big thing. And then to come to find out, and that I was very clear with myself on that, and I would drill it into me that I signed it right. Then, as I came to the Alabama School for the Deaf, and I was working with deaf kids, deaf people, they were like, "Nah, it's okay. Whichever way your J goes, it's fine." I was like, I went through all that trouble to make sure I made my J's correct. And I even taught that for the first class that we had. I was like, no, it's right goes out, left goes in. And then for them to find, then for me to be told, no, you can do it either way. It's not the end of the world. And I was like, okay. So that being said, I do my J's this way. The reason for that is that if you think about it, I'm talking to someone opposite of me. So if they look at my J shape, it's going to look like the correct direction of a J. You know, we write our J's and we look at it with the hook going outward. That'll look like that way for them. So that's why I make my J's go this way. But if you do go this way, they shouldn't judge you. Most people should not judge you, as I have learned. So, but it is that J shape. You're just making that J with your pinky. Okay. So we'll do K and then we'll go back. So K is kind of an awkward one. So bear with me while I describe it. Okay. So what you're going to start with is you're going to start with this two fingers. You're going to have your pinky, what in the world? Middle finger go forward like this, not go down, but forward. And then you're going to stick your thumb between the two. Now, if it does not feel very comfortable, that's okay. That's normal. It's because your hands are not used to making those kinds of shapes and movements that is not going to probably feel the most comfortable in the beginning. I tell people this because I remember when I learned, I was like, that can't be right. That hurts. Like, that's not comfortable. And they were like, my teacher was like, it's okay. Your hands are not used to being put in this position. So with time and practice, it gets more comfortable. So here's our K. Okay. So now let's go back. We finished with E to our F. So we have F, then G, then H, excuse me, then our I, then J, and then our K. Okay, good. All right. So now we're going to go on to our L, which is another easy one because it's one that we all pretty much should know is our L. And then we have our M. So the M, what you're going to do is you're going to put your 3 fingers over your thumb. Now, I am overemphasizing my thumb sticking through. Do not break your thumb trying to make your nail stick out. I do this so you guys can see that I'm having my 3 fingers over. I visually think of that it actually looks like the shape of an M. So there's your M right there. That's how I think of it. Then we have N. N is going to be the same thing, but with 2 fingers. Again, that N shape. Then we have our O, which is super easy, O. And then P. P is going to be our K, but now it's down, like it's sad. So with this one, you do not have to overemphasize your arm. Typically, I'm just like I guess you could think about when you're doing like sassiness, like think of that motion, like that hand, like shape is that P. P. And then we'll do Q and then we'll go through. So Q is going to be like how we did our G with that little pinch. And now that's down too. So our Q. Okay, let's go back through our L. So we had L, then M, then N, O, P, then our Q. Q. All right, good. Okay. So we're getting to the end, guys. I know it's like, I feel like the first class is always like, wow, my hands are going to like cramp and hurt after this. It's okay. It's natural. I promise. My hands hurt so bad the first like few weeks of ASL class because I was not used to the motions. More practice will help it. I promise. Okay. So for R is going to be this is when your fingers are crossed. R. Then we have S. So S is similar to A, except now your thumb is in front. So we have our S. Then our T is going to be 1 finger over our thumb. I don't know why this one makes sense to me, but I think of the letter, it's like it looks more like an X, but to me, for some reason, I'm like, oh, it's just a crooked T. Don't know why, but that way to help think of it is a T. It's a weird T there somewhere. Then we have our U, which is going to be 2 fingers together. Then we have V, which we think of the V. Ooh, stumbled there. Then we have our W. W. X, like it's like a pirate hook. That's what I think of. For a while there, I could not understand why I kept thinking, oh, X like a pirate, because I'm like, that doesn't make sense. One of my previous class people was like, oh, well, X marks the spot and pirates go hunting for treasure. That's where it makes sense. And I was like, oh, thank you so much, because it was driving me crazy. I don't know why I was always like, oh, X for a pirate makes sense. So X marks the spot. Just a little fun one.
It was me, Gillian.
It was you. I can't remember it was. Look, there's been like 10 if
I know, because I listened to you say that so many classes, and I was like, this is why.
I could not for the life of me figure it out, guys. It was a struggle. Okay, so here's our little X from X marks the spot. Then we have Y. Y is going to be our thumb and our pinky. It's making the shape of a Y. And then Z. Z is going to be Z. You just make the zigzag shape. So like you're writing the letter Z. Okay, so let's go back through our R through Z. So we have R, then S, then T, then U, V, W, X, Y. There you go. No, you're good. There's always like, wait, which finger? Yeah, don't worry, you're good. And then Z. Z. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go all the way from A to Z. Okay. I will go slow. I promise. And then we'll do it. I think we'll do about 2 or 3 times. And then after that, what we'll do is I'll give everybody an opportunity to kind of think of how to spell their names. And then without being embarrassed, I will also teach you how to say my name is, and everyone will alternate. I'll break us off into the small group and you will alternate saying my name and then spelling your name. Thankfully, most people do not have too long of names. I still love this one. We have this one woman. She was the sweetest lady, but she had the longest name, y'all. And it was so many different like A's and S's and H's. And she just looked at me
It was like Wilhelmina with an extra H. It was
yeah,
big.
it was big. And she looked at me like, are
It was a
you
great name.
kidding me? Yes, but remember her face? Oh, she was like, please don't make me do this. And I was like, you can do the nickname. And she's like, okay, thank you. So, okay, so let's start all the way from our A. So we have A, B, C, D, E. So remember, you want your fingers kind of above it. There you go. Yeah. Then F, G, then H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Z. Good. I didn't say this earlier, and I usually do. D and F, as crazy as it is, those get flipped so many times. So if you are struggling with those, that's okay. That's normal. Like so many people will get those mixed up. I think it's because they're just the opposite because you have the pointer finger up and then the pointer down. It gets people. So it's okay if you're like, oh my gosh, those two are getting me. That's a very normal thing. Like the amount of students and peers I've had like that could not get that, it happens all the time. So, oh, excuse me. All right. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to have you guys, well, we're going to go through the ABCs again. This time, what I'm going to try to do, sometimes I forget and I'll go ahead and I try to not, is I'm going to say the letter first, give it a few seconds to give you guys a chance to kind of sign it, and then I'll come in later with it, if that makes sense. Gives you guys an opportunity to kind of practice signing it without seeing mine first. It's always a nice little test. If you can't, that's fine. Wait till I show up and then you can do it. Sometimes I might even end up accidentally showing you the sign anyways. I've done that multiple classes and I try to stop myself. So, okay. Are we ready? All right. So, A. Good. Then we have our B. So our B is the 4 fingers up with thumb across. Yeah. All right. Then we have C. C. Good. Then we have D. So D with that pointer finger. Then we
I
have,
changed my
you are good to go. Don't you worry. Then we have E. E. Good. Then we have F. F. Good. So F is the pointer finger and the thumb. There you go. Yes. Then we have G. G. Then H. H. I. I. J. J. Good. K. K. Then L. Good. M. And then N. Ooh, should have waited. I knew I was going to do that. They're too close together. O. O. P. P. Then Q. Q. Then R. R. Excuse me. Then we have S. S. Then T. Good. T. There we go. U. U. Then V. V. Then W. W. X. X. Y. Y. Excuse me. And then Z. Good, 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 good. You know, I'm going to say this. You guys got K and P so out. Well, I'm a little like, most of the time, that's like the hardest two letters. And like, you guys got that. Even if you're like, I can't remember one of these, you got K. All of y'all were getting K. And I was a little like, oh, I'm impressed. Because usually it's always like someone's having to like, and the best part is I love, because I do this too, is I'll stare at my hand and they'll stare at their hand, like waiting, like, hey, aren't you going to move the hand shape for me, please? Like, it happens every class and it happens with me too. I have to hold my wrist when I sign and finger spell things because I typically go a little too fast. I sign like I speak, which is a good thing and a bad thing at itself because I talk really fast, so I sign really fast. And I can't slow my finger spelling, so I have to like physically almost like hold my hand down, like you are going to sign slow. So it's always fun watching that. But so what we're going to do now is I'm going to teach you guys how you would say my name is, and then I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to try to practice finger spelling your name. And that way you guys can have a chance. And then what we're going to do is we're going to alternate. If you do not want to show it, okay. So, oh, that's a good one. Thank you for asking that. I was going to go right on ahead. Like, I know that. But you guys know that, but you don't. So he asked, how would you like do like a repeated letter? So perfect example is my name with my two L's. There are two ways you can do it. The first way is you can do, so like I'll show you how you finger spell mine is Gil, is you slide it. Like if you slide it across, it'll do that. So it'd be Gilian. The other way is you can do a double bounce. So it'd be like Gillian. That double bounce or slide. So that's how you do two letters in a name. Yeah, it's either way. It's really kind of a preference. The thing that's kind of nice with some ASL parts is that it's not always like rigid. Like in English, you know, if you don't put this exactly right there, it's going to be the end of the whole sentence and everything. That's not always the case in ASL. There are a few things that if you sign differently a little part, it might change the meaning of the word, like which word you're using. but like the sentence itself can be a little bit flexible. This is the sign for flexible, which it's hard to see me doing, but it's basically I'm holding my hand and I'm moving it back and forth, like showing my hand can move easily, flexible. Which is just a nice little, I throw random signs in there at times. If I'm signing them, I'm always like, well, here's a nice little one to add. So it is nice when you're with ASL, when you're working with ASL. So, but yeah, that's how you would do 2 letters. If you were doing, I'm trying to see, I don't think anyone has two names, like, you know, Joe, Ann, or anything like that. We've not really had anybody with two name, like first names. If you were to do that sort of thing, you would just kind of make a motion of a little bump. So it'd be like Joe, Ann, like the little move, like you kind of move it over. That's how you would show a space between like the 2 words of a name. But we haven't had anyone do that. And then just, y'all are my first class to actually explain that to you. So good for y'all. Y'all get a little new information. Okay. So yes, well, actually, what you would do if you're doing first and last name is you can do, there's a couple different ways you would do it. But for one, you would do like you would say my name, and then you would fingerspell your first name, and then you would add last name, and then fingerspell your last name. If you do your full name, like you fingerspell, like if I did Gillian May, it can work, but it can also leave an area for them to think that might be your middle, like that's your full name, kind of like that whole Joe and deal. Like, they could think that.
But this is like 3.5 years of classes, and this is the first time we realized we have not covered that.
No.
You guys get bonus content.
Y'all really do. I'm telling you, every class, there's always something that I'm like, oh, wait. Or someone will ask something, and I'm like, oh, yeah. And it comes naturally to me a lot with it because I sign all day, every day, that sometimes I don't even think about it. It's like, for me, it's just kind of just, like I said, it's natural. So I'm always happy when people ask me questions. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Y'all won't know that because I haven't told you that. So if that happens, please let me, like, ask me the question. Even if you're like, this may be a stupid question. There's no stupid questions, like, at all.
Yeah, that is the whole purpose of having the library moderate something. Is it is a safe place, and it's a place where you can ask a question and not feel silly. No stupid questions. We are all probably wondering the same thing.
Oh yeah. And I guarantee you it's a question that I've probably thought of myself when I was learning it. So, okay. For what you would do if you were going to say my name is, the nice thing in ASL is that really there are certain words that are just not, you don't have to have a sign for it, or you don't have to sign. So for example, is, you don't really sign like you don't say my name is in ASL. You would really just do my name, and then you'd fingerspell your name. So the sign for my is going to be my. Then name is, we're going to have our 2 H's, and you're going to tap one on top of the other. Does not matter if it's right-handed, left-handed on top. It does not matter. You just make sure they tap. So my name. And then, like I said, you would just do the finger spelling. So my name, and I'm going to do Gillian. So my name is Gillian. The reason that is not included in that is because it's actually already assumed in the sign when you're like in the sentence, the ASL grammar of the sentence. I promise I'm not going to get too complicated on that. I just like to let people know that it's not really gone. It's not like it's just disappeared. It's just embedded, if that makes sense.
And then there is another way you could sign if you had to use, what is it?
Signing exact
English. Yes.
Yep. Oh, that's Katie. I'm so proud of you. So on that, there is technically ASL is not the only sign language that you can use. There are about 3 different ones. ASL is one of them. There's another one called C, which is SEE, signing exact English. And then the other one is called pigeon signing. That one is like it's very complicated. It's not used often. If I remember it correctly, because like I said, it's not used often. I don't see it anywhere really. It's like you're finger spelling every single word of a sentence. Now, if you really were desperately needing to get a way to communicate with someone, that is you are able to actually do that. If you had to, if you really were like, you were stuck somewhere with one person and they were deaf and you're like, I need to communicate with this person. If you fingerspell everything, you can still get your point across and you can still talk to them and communicate with them. It may take a while and your hands may be cramping afterwards, but you can do it. But the one she's talking about, C, signing exact English, it's where you literally sign the words word for word. So like saying my name, and then you would do is. But this sign is not really, in ASL, it's not there. In signing exact English, it is. Some people will use it, some not. It's not really true ASL if you use it. So that's what she's saying, is there are two different ways, two different signs, but if you see someone doing is, it's that's just what you know what that means. It's if that makes sense. But I don't always heavily suggest, oh yes, let's do sign the exact English. It can get confusing, and ASL is just much prettier in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. I will totally accept that. I'm totally biased. I've always been that way. So, okay. Now that we've gone off on this, we'll come back here. All right. So I'm going to have you guys kind of take a minute while I refill up my water bottle to think about, like, kind of practice fingerspelling your name with the my name, and then fingerspelling your names. Okay. And Miss Katie, you get to go first of it because you're my first one on the screen. That way everyone can have another extra time. But let me fill up my water bottle. I'm a teacher. I drink water constantly. So, all right, let me do that real quick.
So, Katie, we know that you know how to spell your name. How about spelling mine so I can... Okay, so I said, we know that you know how to spell your name. Why don't you try spelling mine? Because that one you haven't practiced before. You have to unmute too.
Wait, Diane challenged me to sign her name, and I'm going to. And I told her, I was about to tell her, one of the reasons is because for the first year or year and a half, I was doing F instead of D. So anyway, if I was Diane, I would say
That was like an ongoing joke between us. Was that she would always do her D's and her F's, and I'd have to go, that's a D, Miss Katie, and she's and so it's an ongoing joke. I just love it. But you got it.
So this is the D?
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Ooh. Okay. Is everybody ready? Or do y'all need an extra minute? I'm okay giving you an extra minute if you need it. I do not want you to feel stressed. I promise. Like I said, it's a safe space. If you get it wrong, it's totally fine. I've had people when I was learning in my class, they made complete gibberish of their names. I mean, you sat there and you're like, what did you say? And so it's very normal. I did catch my name, but when I can never fingerspell my middle name. Like that was my hardest part. Whenever I would try just to practice, oh, it was awful, you guys. Like I could not get it. And I just was like, this is my middle name. I've had this all my life and I cannot spell this correctly. So it's a very natural thing. I'll give you guys about one more minute, but while y'all are doing that, I'm going to talk about, oh, it went away. I have teacher brain, y'all. You'll notice throughout the next 8 weeks that there may be moments where I will just it'll go away. Please bear with me. I have very sweet children, but I have 30 of them this year, which is not a normal size for amount of students. Because I have about 6 classes, so it's about 4 or 5 students each, which I know sounds small, but for deaf students, that's kind of about average. But so that means that I now teach those 6 different classes. I have 30 students, and they're all over the place. I mean, levels are just everywhere. So sometimes my brain just is like, you know what? We need a break. But what was I going to say? Oh, that's going to drive me crazy. I remember the best way to practice ABCs and what I like to recommend. I think we have an ABCs quiz that you can take to help you practice. But like my biggest recommendation that I still to this day use myself is whenever I'm out and about, either in the car, not me driving, but like sitting in the passenger seat, or I'm at home, or I'm out and about, is I try to finger spell anything I see. So, like example, like a board, like a billboard, or the name of a shopping mall, things like that. I try to practice finger spelling it. And the reason for that is that I'm practicing the fluency of my hand motions, like how smooth it would go and fluid. Because typically in the beginning, most people, and if you guys will probably do it, and it's okay, is you're gonna do what's kind of the bouncing letters. So like if I was gonna say my name, and that way it'd be like Gilli, like I'm bouncing it, that motion. That's normal when you're learning it. You're trying to get used to it and trying to think of each letter. And the more you practice, like just spelling different things, the more it goes smooth, where it goes Gillian. Like how I did that. It's not a whole individual bounce, it's Gillian. So I just like to tell people that because I personally think it helps with practicing. Also, I just genuinely enjoy doing it. I used to challenge myself in the car, like on long road trips where my parents are driving and I'm just sitting and watching as we drive by. I try to see how fast I can fingerspell the billboards before we pass them. Did I win those? Not often, but it was a great practice. So just a nice little tidbit. All right, let's get started with our finger spelling of my name and your name. So Miss Katie, I'm gonna have you go first, just to give everybody a little bit of comfortable readiness. Oh wait, I do need to change this back into view so everyone can see. I don't think I've done that in any of the other classes, and I don't think anyone told me. I think everyone was okay being hidden. I'm sorry, you guys, you aren't going to be hidden. There's like 15 of y'all. Really, there's 14, but it's okay. So, all right, Miss Katie. All right, good. Okay. All right, so the next person, and I'm going to go through how it's placed on mine. I'm so sorry if you were not expecting your name to be called next, but everyone's going to go. So the next one I have next is Lindsay. All right, ready? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Good. Consider yourself, you got it right. I know it's always like really stressful the first time, but yes, you got it right. Awesome. Okay. The next one is, making sure we don't have multiples of these names. I just realized I'm trying to make sure. Okay, so we have two Sarahs. I have Sarah. Ooh, I'm so sorry if I say your last name wrong. Hoyer? Okay, good. Well, close enough. You knew who I was talking about. You know I was talking about you. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Perfect. Okay. The next one I have is Diane. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you're gonna put them over them. There you go. Yep. And then our E. Pull it back instead of having it forward. Try to bring it up. There you go. All right, good. Okay. The next one I have is Samantha. All right, ready? Okay. Mm-hmm. Good. Awesome. I was going to tell you if you wanted to shorthand to Sam, I would not judge you, but I'm glad you went through with it. I was like, I think she can do it. So awesome. Okay. The next one I have is Gabby. All right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Perfect. Great. Okay. Next one I have is Isabella. Mm-hmm. Good. Perfect. You guys are doing the bounce. Is that mean that because I said it, y'all are like purposely trying to be like, maybe I should not bounce my hand as much? It's totally fine if y'all do. I just noticed, I was like, wow, no one's really like almost like kind of knocking on the door with their hand shapes. Anyways, I just noticed. All right, the next one I have is Scott. Oh, you did it fast, sir. I think you've been practicing. It was great. It was right. I got it all. All right. The next one I have is, oh my gosh, wait a minute. Are you a married couple? Are y'all together? Oh, sorry. I just noticed that. I saw the last name. I was like, wait a minute. That's the same name. I think we have multiple. Are there two couples? The Connollys? Are y'all the same? Are y'all? Oh my gosh. I love it. Sorry. I had those moments. I told you, teacher brain just gets very excited all of a sudden.
Here's what's really funny is that I can tell y'all are in the same room, but it took me about 10 minutes. And I was like, wait a minute, those people's kitchens look oddly similar. Wait a minute.
Actually not in the same room. Oh my gosh,
Wait,
y'all.
what?
I'm still at work. That's too funny. I love it. Okay. Well, you know what? You guys have both couples, y'all have perfect opportunities because what y'all can do is y'all can practice together and challenge each other. Just saying if y'all wanted to, but that's just me. I love ASL. I will sign all day and every day. So back to what we were doing is Janine. Is it Janine? Okay. All right. Mm-hmm. Oh, you also did yours fast. Awesome. All right. The next one we have is Julie. Now, Julie, you have a total head start on all these people, so do not stress them out if you go too fast. Awesome. She was in our class during the summer. That's why I can say that. The next one is Ashling. Good. Awesome. Okay. The next one is Edna. Mm-hmm. Good. Short and sweet. All right. The next one is Kyle. Perfect. I'm glad you caught on that it blurred for a moment because I was like, wait, you have one finger sticking up. It was very confusing, but I love it. All right. The next one is Sarah Connolly. Perfect. And then the next one, our last one, I think is Milan. All right. Mm-hmm. Perfect. Oh, you guys got all y'all's names right. I know that sounds crazy to hear, but it's like, hey, you finger spelled it right. So what I'm going to do now for the last 3 minutes is we're not going to have everyone do it again, I promise, is I'm going to teach you how you would say last name. And that way you can also add your last name. Typically what will happen is some people might ask you for your last name. Some may not. It just kind of depends on the person you're talking to. Most of the time people don't ask me my last name unless they're like actively trying to figure out, like, for example, some parents may ask me my last name, which would make sense because they may see my first name, but they may see me spell my first name, but they only see my last name, things like that. So the sign for last is going to be, you're going to have two pinkies and you're going to have one pinky hit the other one. Not hard. Do not break your pinky, but you just go pop it. And that's last. So if you're going to say last name, you would go last, and then you do the sign for name. Mm-hmm. And then you would just finger spell your last name. So last name, May, which I love. Where my first name can be kind of a pain, it's always nice to just do May. So but that's how you would do last name. You would typically start with saying, my name, Gillian, last name, May. You would add it kind of in between it. But you don't have to say the my last name. You don't have to add the my. You just kind of say last name. All right. So we have about 2 minutes left. Does anybody have any questions? Anything you're curious of? Anything like that? I know it's the first class, and I know I have a very bubbly, over-the-top personality, and I can talk all day and every day. So I know who I am as a person. But if y'all have any questions during the next week or so, you can always email Katie, and she will either let me know or we will hold it for the next class, things like that. It is totally fine. Sorry, I put my dogs outside and he's being stubborn right now, but he can wait 2 minutes. But yeah.
Okay, and I wanted to throw out there, I will get this class uploaded. I'll email everybody tomorrow. Do let me know, especially since the very beginning, if you have any questions, need any clarifications, anything like that. And then later in the week, I will send out our ABC quiz so you can kind of get a little practice before we meet again next week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anybody, any questions?
So I just have one quick question. I feel like I'm the slow learner in the class, but you may have had one other slow learner in all your years of doing this. So is there any way that you would recommend for one to work on this between this class and the next one? What's the most effective way to watch the tape of the class? Or
I would say yes, especially like Miss Katie says, she does the timestamps. So, practicing that, and maybe you don't have to watch the whole hour video again.
Right.
You can go through the timestamps and kind of go, okay, well, here's ABCs, and go through the letters again.
Okay.
And just practicing that will help for sure.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I think Kyle had a question.
I did, but I can hold it for next time.
I mean, if you can real quick, if it's not a long one.
I was just gonna ask, like, slow down, please. Like, what would this sign for that be?
Okay, yes, I can do that real quick for you guys, especially because I do sign fast. Slow down is basically what you're going to do is you're just going to have your hand go back on, like it's going to go slow. This is a sign for slow. Mm-hmm. Slow. So if you're like, slow down, slow down, slow down, like that's the motion of being slow down. And then please is open hand and it's circle. So we're like our my was you patted, please is a whole circle. Please. So slow down, please. Yes. And then I think we'll get through a couple of ways of asking, like to repeat that and stuff. We can definitely do that in next class. If y'all will remind me, just let me know. And I can show you guys that as well. But yeah. All righty. Well, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of y'all's week. And I will see you guys all next Tuesday. Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.